Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn, and today's episode, we're talking about college football top 25 metric power rankings. We are at a converging point. We're at the point where they are going to announce, or at least the College Football Playoff Committee is going to announce who are the final four teams. So I figured this would be a tandem to that. In terms of that, basically giving you who my final four would be based on data. Again, not based on my opinion, but just based on my data. And then, of course, giving you the top 25 based on all the available information. Now, again, it is important to remember that the way the ranking system works is it's based on various statistical points, allowed on defense, points forced, completion percentage on offense and defense, special teams. It's based on almost all those factors on top of how many wins you had, how the strength of schedule that you faced. And I do understand that there's going to be some people going, why is Penn State ranked over Ohio State? When in reality, Ohio State beat Penn State by 1 point. And going into that game, there was only about a 0.14 difference between both those teams. So for that kind of perspective, don't really think of this ranking system as a true top-to-bottom ranking system as much as just a general idea of who the top teams are, if that makes any sense. So it shouldn't really be viewed as, at least at this point of the season, it shouldn't be viewed as this is how it should be ranked as much as this is the relative strength of all these various teams, at least based on the data with the top 25 teams. So, and of course, all terms and definitions will be in the description. So if you're new to the channel, you're new to the work that I do, all that information will be there. So, with this week, so we're getting into this week, the final four teams based on data would be Notre Dame, Penn State, Ohio State, and Clemson. Those would be the final four teams based on a combination of wins, points forced, points allowed, and strength of schedule, how tough their schedule was, and all those other sort of factors. So based on all that collective data, this would be the final four teams. Now, is that exactly what's going to happen? No. Closely behind those four teams are Georgia and Alabama. Those are two teams that I actually do expect to see in the final four, or at least I expect them to be candidates for the final four. So that it shouldn't be surprising, but I do want to note that Georgia and Alabama, the only reason why they're at that spot is because they've not played as tough of a schedule as Clemson, as Ohio State, as Penn State, and as Notre Dame have faced. So that's really the biggest kind of takeaway from there. Followed up by those guys, TCU is here. They just lost the game against Iowa State, but they're still pretty much there. Wisconsin is here as well. They're still undefeated. They've not played the best schedule ever, but they continue to rack up wins. So they're going to be a very interesting team to follow for the rest of the season to kind of see what happens with them. And then, of course, we have Iowa State after them. Mississippi State still kind of hanging tough despite some of the lack of coverage on them. Miami, Oklahoma State, Virginia Tech, Oklahoma, North Carolina State, Washington, Auburn, Stanford, Georgia Tech, UCF, Central Florida, Iowa, Michigan, USC, Washington State, and Wake Forest. So this is the top 25 for this week based on the data ranking points. And a lot of this stuff will be fixed, at the end of the season. But I did want to just get this information out each week to give you some kind of familiarities and who's going up and who's going down and all that kind of information. But this is a very exciting year, obviously. Very, very densely packed year as well. In terms of strength, in terms of team strength, there's so many great teams out there in college football. So this is a really great year. This is honestly kind of a bad year for the playoff system because this would be a year where I think an 18 playoff would have made a lot more sense in this year than any other year because of how talented a ton of teams are, like just the competitiveness of all these football teams. So So again, from that perspective, I think that's very interesting to see. But again, this is how the rankings are. And of course, you can find my other work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics. And if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well with anybody that you know. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.